welcome. Thanks for coming on. I'll just introduce myself for those that don't know me. I'm Gus, the head of sales at TracMap. There's going to be a few people just keep joining, but that's all right. And so today we're just going to run through sort of a bit of an A to Z of setting up Xero invoicing through TracMap. I know that we have quite a range of people on. We've got obviously spreading businesses, spraying businesses, and a range of other businesses here, and a number of people that are also using other systems like MYOB or something else that are what it would mean if they changed. So I'll try and cover everything in a bit of a range, but I was never any good in the classroom myself. So if you've got questions, just yell out, and if it does get disjointed, then I'll probably just ask that we can delay some questions to the end and then run through them. Cool. So the main thing that we're going to go through is just connecting the accounts with Xero, setting up the configuration right, and a few tips around that. I think it's important, and particularly as we might have, a chance to catch a breath at this time of year, that it gets set up quite well at this stage up front, and then down the track it becomes a lot easier. So I'm going to go through a few tips there. And then we'll just run through some different scenarios and how to use it. So to start with, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen and talk through. So this is just the TracMap login that I'm sure you will all have. One tip that I think makes this sort of thing easier, or can do, is in your users, so I've got quite a few here, but in your account, if you're, say, a business where you have a number of different people, like a dispatcher, and you're doing the invoicing, but there might be, 3 others with logins, then it's helpful if you each have a user. Because what we might do is customize some things that are really good for invoicing and using Xero, but might not necessarily be that helpful if you're trying to dispatch trucks or tractors and that sort of thing. So the first thing is we're just going to connect to Xero. So all I've done here is gone to admin, and there should be an invoicing tab along here. So if you don't have that, then please just email me or contact your local area manager, either or, and we can sort that out for you. But you should have this invoicing tab. From there, it's pretty simple in terms of connecting. So you can just connect, and it will ask you to access your Xero account. I've already got one set up, so I'm not going to do that. And once you're connected, it'll come up like this. So the first thing to do is to set up what line items descriptions you want in there, and also if you want a default reference on your invoices. So that's basically just to have something that you can go back to and check against from your TracMap job versus your invoice as well. So I personally would recommend the order ID being a good one there, because there's a unique one and it will automatically populate if you don't, or you forget to put in like an order number or an order name, then then it wouldn't come up on Xero, whereas an order ID is automatic. It's just being generated by TracMap. So that's the first step. And then the next thing is what we want the descriptions to be for each line. And a good thing to do here at this point is almost just open your Xero, an existing invoice that you have, and then just see what information you have on that that you would like across. So whether that's, you know, dates that the job was completed, the activities, so that would be like baling, spreading, raking, spraying, you know, that sort of thing. Products, obviously, and some people, I guess I just mention to look at it because what I've observed is that a lot of different businesses like different things, and some businesses don't give very much information to customers with an invoice, and some prefer to. So this is kind of where you can set that up. And obviously you can change it in time. So a lot of people might start by just, you know, a few basics, and then as they learn what drivers input and what's needed, you can come back and just add to it. So that's kind of step one, is this configuration. So once you're happy with that, just save there. Always an important step. Any questions before I move on to the activities part of this? Cool.
Yes, just a quick one on that. We're a spreading company. When we first, we've kind of set it up, but we haven't done any invoicing yet. We had trouble with pulling our cartage through, and so I actually contacted your office and was helped to add that field, but we had to add a field so that the guys had it in their unit. And so, yeah, like that was, it wasn't that easy to set that up. So I don't know whether that's something that you will be able to show us how to add in a custom field to be able to pull some of that information through.
Yes, that's certainly something we can do.
Because we have set it up, but we've done one job and sent it through, and it doesn't seem to have pulled the information through quite the way we anticipated that it has. So I don't know if it's not set up right, or if we're trying to do something that is not, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, cool. So the next step in this, or part of that, will be to set up some fields to pull that kind of thing. So I've got an example similar set up, but I can actually run through that exact one as well. So the next thing I just did was click on activities. And so in TracMap, you should have set up all the activities that you do as a business through here. So obviously, if you haven't done that, then I recommend coming in and doing so. But what you'll see once you're set up with Xero is that for every activity, you'll have some settings here. And so in the simple example of spreading, obviously in Xero, these are my products. And yours will be a little bit more complicated. I understand that. I'm just running a demo account, so it's a little bit, I've just got 4 activities and 4 products here. But some people may have, variable rate spreading, hilly ground spreading, and, flat spreading, and have 3 or more different rates for each of those. But you can map them to each of the TracMap activities. And then you can choose what quantity you want to be your default. So remembering, and that's the quantity that would be billed off. So That's per hectare or per hour or whatever, method it would be. So in terms of cartage, that would probably be, distance not working or something like that. Remembering as well that this is very much the default, and we often find that people, have some kind of variation because, for whatever reason, there was a little bit more in that paddock or less, and you just want to change it. So this is the default, and it can be changed when we get to the invoice stage quite easily. One thing to go over just quickly is these 3 areas and what the difference is. And unfortunately, there's not really a cookie cutter approach that I can tell you about that everyone does for every situation, but I can just explain each one, and then you guys can choose from your businesses what fits you. So the requested area is the area in a map that is basically just a paddock area as you look at it from above. And so if you've clicked on paddock 6 and that's 8 hectares, then that would be the requested area of 8 hectares. Now, if you go out and do that job, but it actually has, a little bit of a few trees in the paddock and everything, then the chances are your real area that you cover, so that's the 3rd one here, the real area, might be more like 6.5 hectares. So you haven't actually covered 8 hectares that was requested because there was some trees in there and things. And then there is the nominal area, which includes all your overlaps and things like that. So when a driver's going around trees and backing up into corners and things like that, there is always some overlap generally. And so quite often people will look to bill on nominal area, because if you're overlapping, then that chemical or product is still a cost to you, and is still of some benefit to the farmer. That's why people tend to also bill off nominal area. So the choices there, we don't have a stance of what's necessarily right or wrong, but for the purpose of this, I'm going to say that requested area is what we're looking to bill off. And then I've just added one example, and this sort of comes to the cartage thing as well, to just show a little bit more of a complicated example. So baling, obviously, if I've set up my baling activity here, and I've copied that account across, but none of these are really going to apply in baling, because it's going to be on a per bale rate, not area worked or time or anything like that. And you may be similar for cartage if a driver's just putting in, kilometers driven or whatever. So in this example, I'm going to go to the Fields tab and just add a field, and I'm going to call this bale count. And so a really important thing at this stage is that any custom field that you want to carry into a Xero invoice, it needs to be numeric or a number, and then select new order, so send to display unit. That allows the driver to fill in those details. So he's going to put in the bale count most likely, although if a dispatcher wanted to, they could also put it in. And And then in activities, I'm going to select bailing as well. And then I'm just going to save that and then jump back to my activities, back into bailing. And now when I come down here, I have to refresh. Thought that might happen. I should be able to select this new custom field that I've created, which is bail count. And then obviously make sure that you save that. So that's can be used for all kinds of things. If you wanted, drivers to be filling in information that you're billing off, then that can be quite adaptive in terms of cartage numbers. Some people have used it for chemicals as well, although that's probably not as easy. Cool.
Gus, can I just ask a question, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Where you've got the Xero settings for bailing there, and you've got Xero item code, how do you add stuff into there, or do you do that in Xero and then it gets dragged across?
Yep, good question. So if I jump into Xero and go business and this products and services, so I just went business, products and services, then these are my products here.
Okay.
And probably already got this set up in one way or another. And you may, through this process, like to tidy them up so they align a bit easier. But then in TracMap, that's where we're reading it off. So I've just selected round bales here.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think most businesses would probably end up with a bit more information on the activities. So there might be 2 or 3 types of bailing because there's going to be 2 or 3 types of billing out as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Cool. So the next thing this is all of the setup in the admin. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the jobs section and just set this up so that it's in the best possible way for your invoicing. So what I've done is I just added a new tab and I called mine invoicing. So I'll call this invoicing 2 just so that we can follow how I got there. It creates a new tab like so. And from what I can see here, the information on this screen might be useful to a dispatcher or, someone like that looking at each job. But for me, trying to invoice off this, it's not actually that useful. So if you click the select columns button up in this corner, you have quite a range of options to choose from. And so things like activity are probably quite important to see. You may like order ID. The due date might not matter to you. Products could for this. I'm going to take them out. And I'm just going to leave requested area because mine's a demo and I've only got requested area in there. And then the 2 really key, or at least one really key one to put up, is the invoice status. So drag that up, and you may like things like time working or time taken. It's up to you really. So have a play with the setup that works best for you and what the information is that's needed on your invoices that you need to see. So I went and set up this tab that had the key information.
Gus?
Yes.
When you put the invoice status in, does that come from Xero?
Yes, correct. So about to show that here, but this is live. So this is pulling right from Xero. So we'll jump to that now. So if I give the example of this, Bob's Farm, who I did 301 hectares with, and in Xero, I would then see that invoice that I've sent out here. And for this example, and we'll run back through this, but for this example, if I show that he paid me yesterday to my account and add payment, then back in TracMap, in a second, that will update to paid like so. So you'll get live updates on what's paid and what's not there. So we'll jump back to that, but just to jump back to that took a wee tangent, but back to these columns. So I think it's really important to set up the information that you want on here, and these invoice number and invoice status is directly linked with Xero automatically. So they're probably two quite key ones to get on there. So the next really important thing to know about the invoicing part of this is that it will only allow you to invoice off completed jobs. So if a driver has just returned a job, but it hasn't been completed, then that needs to be done before you will see this invoice button appear. What in this invoicing tab, some people would prefer just to filter on just job complete, and that way you're not getting all the noise or the junk of jobs that are out there being done or jobs that are planned to be done next month and that sort of thing. You're only dealing with complete jobs. That being said, it is an important step to make sure that jobs are being completed, either by the dispatchers, yourselves, or someone else. A useful wee tip around that is you can come up to this cogs button up here and go settings, and go account, and in here is auto complete jobs. And so you might like to change that to say 5 days, for example. And that way, if you or your dispatcher or someone forgets to complete jobs often, then you can save that, and after 5 days, it'll automatically complete and come back through to you. With that said, if you have situations where you often get jobs back and then resend them out, that's the only time that you would probably not do something like that, because if it's sent back and then you wait 5 days and you want to send it again, it could automatically complete in that time. Cool. So once we're fully set up, at that point, you're pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is just run through creating a job right the way through to invoicing it out. And I'm going to skip, obviously a lot of the work around what would actually happen in a real business. In terms of that setup process and getting to this point, is there any questions that are popping to mind here?
Is there anyone that can set it up for us? Like, can we pay someone to come and do all that setup stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure we can pretty much work with you there. Who's your area? Are you on Marty's area?
Yeah. Would you go through, I mean, I'm using MyOb at the moment, so I'm not even in Xero.
Yeah.
So I'd need someone to transfer all my stuff from MyOb to Xero and then set it up in TracMap,
Yeah.
which I'm keen to do, but I'd like to do it in a couple of days and get it all sorted, not me spend 6 weeks trying to do it myself.
Yeah.
And mucking it up.
Absolutely. So what I'd probably recommend from that side is there's quite a few people in Xero that are consultants that do sort of the heavy lifting of transferring people over.
Yeah.
And so I've just worked with one on a different program, and they did it in about a week over, just a couple of sessions of asking me what I wanted and then transferring information across.
Yeah.
And so I think from the Xero point of view, there's probably more in their system that you would want to get right in terms of setting the right products up and everything for you than on the TracMap side. So once the Xero thing is working really well for you and you've got all your right products in here and the customers and things in from that side, then in terms of the TracMap part, it's pretty easy. Marty would be easily able to work through that with you and make sure that we get it right.
Okay, so you're not working with MyOb, eh? It's no point me persevering with MyOb.
It's not going to be an automated API in the short term.
Yeah.
Like this.
Can I just say, do you have an accountant that you work with?
Me? Yep.
Yeah. Do they use Xero?
Yeah, they both are Xero and MyOb.
There's quite a bit involved in transferring to Xero, so you probably need just talk to them, and they can help you with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think spreading business is quite specific as well, isn't it? Like it's not like just the basic. There's so many different products at different rates for different customers. It's not just like 5 jobs in your list. There's about 300 in my list.
I work for an accounting firm, and I just set a spreading business up on TracMap and Xero, and it did take quite a while because I did a lot of the work for them. And you do, like, where you're looking at activities. You set up all your rates in there, like, so you'd have a rate for like 0 to 250 kilograms per hectare. So you set all those rates up in there.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I've got set up on MyOb now. That's why I thought it's going to be quite a big job to.
But I would talk to your accountant because they can do all the conversion balances and stuff from MyOb to Xero. Just quick. Right. I won't say any more now.
Yeah, I was just going to I totally agree with you. You get somebody to help you set your Xero up and to transfer those balances. But you're right, you do end up with a huge list because spreading is so specific and you want each of those rates. And so we're like you, we've got pages and pages of it. And I would not say that we've got it right. Like it is easy to put those in. Once you get your head around Xero, it's really easy to add them. But it does, you do end up with a huge big list.
Yeah, it's a huge job. And my other question was, just before I do transfer to Xero, you guys can probably help me. At the moment, we bill at the end of the month, and one customer might have 6 different jobs that we've done over the month. Does that work in Xero, or you've got to send an invoice for each individual job?
No, that works in Xero. You can, what I do, I don't know what other people do, but I save them as a draft. And so each time you go to that property, you just add it into that draft invoice, so they get one invoice for the month. And if you've been there 20 times, then you get the 20 different visits for what you've put on, different product, different rate, all of that you can just do in Xero as a draft and do one bill at the end of the month.
Yeah, so you're not getting 20 different invoices to the same farm.
No.
Yeah. Cool, thanks.
Cool. It's good input, and I'd agree that getting some help from someone is definitely useful. What I've also seen be quite effective is a few businesses have kind of taken the opportunity when setting this up to try and simplify their business a wee bit and move from, say, 15 different rates for the same or for a similar product down to 5 or 10 or however possible. And I think that's helped those businesses as well.
Other thing I was actually going to ask Gus, is there ways, every business is different obviously, like, so you're applying it at different rates. Some spreading businesses like ours, we bill on a per tonne rate rather than a per hectare rate. Is there a way of pulling that through as a field, like tonnes applied as opposed to hectares spread?
Yeah,
like, it will obviously be like you'll have to make a field, but yeah.
Yeah, so to move to that example, you just come in to fields and go add field, and go tonnes applied. I think that's right. Forgive me if it's not. Same setup. So sending to a unit and activities. Just change it to spreading there, obviously. And then you can save that. So the key there again has to be a number. And the only downside to this is that it's going to depend on a driver putting in the number of tonnes. But that said, it's still, if you're doing it off paper or something, they're probably writing it down anyway. And often the automatic number that we capture isn't, it's going to be really specific down to decimal places. And the reality is they probably got 5 tonnes, not 4.86 or whatever.
Yeah, so I was going to say, like for us, in that case, that would be no problem because we always, it's whatever amount of product you've picked up from the store. So if you've picked up 5.25 tonne, that will be on the waybill from Ravensdown, so they'll be able to input that directly into the unit.
Yep.
At that point. Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Cool. So just to run through a job, and I'll go through to a new order here. So if you've got kind of questions around the ordering here, then we'll cover them off at a separate date. But this tonnes applied field here is that number one that we just created before. So again, to use that example, if I select baling, then the bale count comes up. If I select spreading, then the tonnes applied comes up. And you can kind of do that for all kinds of things. So some people may choose, a lot of random things we find that people want drivers to input. So for this, I'm going to pretend that he's gone out and done 5 tonnes, and I'll just go coated urea. 50, 5 tonnes, but that's okay. So I'm just going to submit that job. And then through the jobs section, so we've got the job in here. We'll pretend they've gone out and done that job. So it comes back in and the complete button is here. So you'll notice there's no way I can invoice off this job at this stage. The complete has to happen. I set that up just before so that it would auto-complete after 5 days. So if I did nothing, that this return, if it was returned from a truck, it would automatically complete. And now that I've completed it, it should come through to this tab here in my invoicing. And so I can see the job's through and it's not invoiced, but I've now got this invoice button appear. So I've selected invoice, and that comes up. I've got spreading and I've gone tonnes applied 5, and this was based on hectares, so the price is there. So Ravensdown have got a good special on at the moment, and they're getting a great deal. But obviously, if that was a requested area, that would change a little bit. And what I said before around this being the default, you've always got the opportunity here to change it up as you see fit. So you don't need to get too hung up if you want to change it. You'll see the reference come up here. So this is automatically taking it from the jobs reference ID. And to the point someone else made around setting up those drafts in Xero. So I can see that there's some draft invoices on Jack's farm for previous work that I've done. Now this is a spreading job, and I happen to know that the other jobs are baling. So you might choose to do 2 separate invoices, but for this, if I just click there, then the rest come up and I just add it to them. So you can just keep adding and adding as you wish. And then I've got the option here to attach the customer report, which is basically the most simple report that TracMap would send through to a customer. It just shows the working lines and the product applied. So that gives them their proof of the job, really. And if you're happy with that, you can go send to Xero. So to latch onto, I guess, the discussion around cartage as well, you may choose to create an extra field there for cartage that the driver would fill out. And so if I just come to Xero and I'll pretend that we've got a product called cartage, and does someone want to give me a unit price?
$5.50.
$5.50. Okay. There we go.
Not $5.50. I like what you do.
Got to find a way to break even, right? So if we save that in there, and I'll just refresh for a moment. So if the drivers needed to add in the cartage, then you would just create that extra field in there, and you could read that off the details in here the same way that you can read the bale count and everything like that. I'd suggest, given my understanding of the spreading businesses and the cartage there, it'd probably be good just to add it to these columns by selecting select columns, and then you can drag that cartage column up, and then it would be really obvious to you what the distance is, and you can just add cartage, and then you just read it and say, yeah, that was 6 kilometers or whatever it is. And you've added it there. So again, that's just, you just add your own line item for that and go cartage. Cool. And again, you can just send that through to Xero. Cool. So once you've sent through, so I would also say that if you've got multiple jobs for the same farm, you can select them all and invoice off them all. So you may choose to just get to the end of the month and be like, yeah, I've done all these jobs for Jack, and I'm going to invoice all at once and add them all to this other invoice, and make one big long one. So the options there, you don't have to individually invoice out. Does that make sense so far?
It does. Gus, so we're a spreading company as well. And if you can just bring up the invoice again where you're showing the cartage rates, we have in Xero dozens of cartage rates that apply to each customer. So we have figured out the distance from store to each customer's farm, and we've attributed a code to that. Is there any way that that client information can pull through to the item description so we don't have to use a third platform to look up what that code is?
So in Xero, that would mean...
Yeah, we've got it all there. Yeah, and that when it comes to the invoicing stage, I actually have to manually enter that code for the pricing to populate. Is there any way that that information can come directly through being attached from the customer? We could add it to the customer's details, and would that feed through to the invoicing lines?
And so just help me understand that. So does each customer also have a separate rate that they're billed per kilometre, or?
We have a range of distances, and so we've got maybe a couple of dozen of them, and there's 5 to 10 Ks is the range, and I've used Google Maps and everything to figure out from the pickup point at Ravensdown or Balance to the customer's farm what that distance in kilometres is, and then that fits into one particular code that we've got. So at the moment, we can attach that code to the customer's details and admin, but that information doesn't pull through to the invoicing. At this stage, I have to look to a third platform, because once you hit invoicing down here, those customer details freeze. So you can't scroll down if you've not placed those details in the correct place to see the information you've got there.
Okay. So I have one option here, and I haven't run through it before, so I'm diving in.
Okay.
But you could create a field distance or whatever. It doesn't have to just be kilometres, but it might be the price for each cartage. So price for cartage, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, Gus, so effectively you've got like zones for cartage, have you?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. And so instead of attaching that to the activity, you can attach it to the map there.
Okay.
If you save that and then go to your map, I'll just refresh. On Jack's farm, I've got a new field that's popped up for...
okay.
Yeah. And you could use that in a similar way to you've used those other number fields. So
okay, so can you enter something in there and then show me how it pulls through to the invoice?
Yeah, so what we might do, because there might be some other adjustments that we have to make, I'll quickly have a look at this, and then but if we have to make other adjustments, we might discuss that offline.
Okay.
So you would probably end up adding, because it could be cartage as well. Sorry, I'm just thinking this through because
Yeah, oh no, that's fine.
So you've got price for cartage there as well, that you might choose. Otherwise, if we go back to the jobs, oh yeah, so so what you would probably do is just select this price for cartage thing, yeah, and if you've got that for Jack's farm, then that will come up there as Jack's farm. What you probably might need to look to do, and this is where we need to probably take this offline, is
yeah, sure.
The price for cartage should actually be, here, because that's the price. This is meant to be a quantity, so if it's distance for each farm and then what the rate is for each distance, then that might be a bit clearer.
So we have a range, but the quantity is still based on the tonnage carted.
Oh, okay. So by tonnage. Okay. Well, I think for this, it would be best to just take that discussion offline to get the details. The point is that you can create a field to attach to a map as well, or you can also take that field and attach it to a customer as well if you'd like to do it for like an account, for example.
Okay.
So we're in the same situation. We have zones as well for our cartage. So same thing, we have lots of customers in one zone, another lot of customers in another zone, another lot of customers in the third zone, and all based on the cartage price is based on the tonnages that you cart to the job and on what zone they're in. Yeah. So are you saying you can do it that way in Xero? You can set it up by that, or are you saying you got to do something else?
No, I'm definitely saying you can. So that way is almost more simple because you've got less products to add into Xero. You've just got 6 zones or 10 zones or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the information you just need to enter is whatever zone that farmer is. So you've got only cartage here, but you would have cartage
1, 2, or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, and then just tons applied, or ton. You can call that whatever you want. Tons carried, whatever. Yeah. Yep, and then that carries through. Correct. Yeah. So, once you've set that up or sent an invoice across, obviously that hasn't gone to the customer yet. You can actually use this to navigate, and you'll see down below here in the job is this invoice. And if I just click on it, then it takes me through to the invoice in the drafts. And I'm sure you're all familiar with Xero and just clicking approve, and that sends it out to the customer. It's a due date. What you can also see on this as well is it has the 4 PDFs attached. And this just shows that what the job was urea, it didn't actually get anywhere, and what the requested area is. So it's attaching all of the job reports through here for your customers. If you didn't want that to happen, then that was that checkbox back on the TracMap side. I'll show that again down in this bottom left corner. So there's that.
With the reports that you attach, can you create other reports, like text reports? That I'm doing work for a aerial spreading company, and they need to put, they need to check like health and safety stuff on the bottom of each job. Yep. Is there any way to set that up and attach it to the invoices, or attach it to the, as a report?
So this one will just send the customer report, which is the basic one on the...
Yeah. So what I'm asking, is there can you set up other reports and attach them?
Yes, absolutely. So you can customize quite a big range of different reports. We're going to have another webinar on that. So I'll follow through on that, because there is, just to show you how many different things you can create a report on.
Yep. No, another webinar is fine. That'd be good.
Unfortunately, that's a deep dive too.
Yeah.
So, I'm just noting that for you as well. So something I just did forget to mention up front was, for the first time when you invoice, you'll map your TracMap customers to your Xero customers. So this is kind of an easy example, because in Xero, my customer's called Jack as well. But more than likely in your properties, you will have some people that are called different things in Xero to what they're actually called in TracMap. So you'll set that up the first time you come to invoice through, and then after that, it will save your TracMap customer to your Xero account. That also means that quite common is that you will end up with multiple names in TracMap going to the same customer in Xero, because someone owns multiple farms, and for whatever reasons, you know, in TracMap you might just have called them the 6 different farms rather than the one account that they go through to. So that's the main one there. And then the big thing with setting this tool up is just setting it up so that you can check, and you could look for drafts or not invoiced, or a lot of people might use this to see who hasn't paid, that sort of thing. That's what this can be a tool for, just to, you know, give you visibility while you're looking at it. So those are sort of the main basics of what I was wanting to cover today. So yeah, keen for any questions around that further, and we'll also cover off some other subjects in later sessions.